I enjoyed it, and the reason is because prior to going to partial hospitalization, I was new to mental illness. I had just been diagnosed a year before and didn't know what to expect, and I was kind of pessimistic about going to partial hospitalization because I didn't know what to expect. They told me it was three weeks, and it was for like I think 6 hours a day or whatnot, and I didn't think that I was going to be able to complete that. But when I joined, I enjoyed it a lot, hearing people's stories and seeing that mental illness is normal. There's nothing bad about it, that there's other people dealing with it, and that I should be comfortable in my own skin and be able to talk about having a mental illness. So it kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit. And that was great. It was much needed because I was kind of being a recluse and secluding myself from going out and doing things and joining groups and meeting with people. But that kind of opened me up to going back out and living my life. So there's a psychotherapy session with the group, which was really beneficial. I think twice a week it was 90 minutes, and then once a week it was 45 minutes or something. I don't know exactly. It's been a while since I've been. Yeah. But that was very helpful, where you sit around in a group of probably about 6 to 8 people, and you just talk about, the things that you're dealing with in your everyday life, and people kind of give feedback and advice, and it's very helpful. And then they have a recreation where you like do arts and crafts and stuff, which I can't say I was the biggest fan of because I'm not artistic. Oh, come on. But it was good. It was good. Yeah. Well, my mom has bipolar disorder, so I already had my preconceived thoughts about mental illness, but they still weren't good. It was really the stigma got to me a lot, and I think that kind of resonated with me a lot, and it was kind of hard to move past that. You get the crazy, wacko, stuff like that, and it was hard for me to move past that. So like I said, I kind of secluded myself from others and didn't want to educate myself on mental illness. And once I educated myself and found out that there's people living with this that are living a functional life, I kind of got out of my shell. And that helped a lot, is education and talking to people. So yeah, there's a process to get to acceptance. At first, with my situation, I didn't accept that I had mental illness, even though I kept being hospitalized 3-4 times. So that was the hardest thing, is accepting the fact that I had a mental illness. And once I accepted it, and once I heard stories of people who were successful, like such as Ken Barlow and people of that nature, it kind of gave me hope and kind of allowed me to think that maybe I will have a second chance of getting back to where I was and living my life the way that I wanted to, and hearing people who haven't, like my mom, who hasn't been in the hospital for 10 years, and she's diagnosed, like I said, with bipolar. Just hearing those things gave me hope, and that's what I needed, is some hope. So the acceptance piece is huge to me, the radical acceptance. I know I talk about that a lot, but I wish that they would have talked about the phases that you go through, like the denial, the anger. Like there's stages that you go through on your way towards acceptance. And I went through all of them. I was angry and questioning God, everything, just denial. And it was a process. And I wish that I would have talked to someone who could have told me that beforehand, instead of, it's good that you're getting, stress management, coping mechanisms, stuff like that. But the biggest thing for me was honestly accepting the fact that I had a mental illness and knowing that it was going to be a process. It wasn't something that I was going to accept overnight. It wasn't something that I was just going to wake up and be like, hey, I have mental illness. It was a process. And it took literally 6 months. From partial to day treatment is pretty much what helped me accept the fact that I had a mental illness. That was tough because before I was diagnosed with my mental illness, I always liked going to work out and going to the gym and, walking, running. And I got to a point when I was diagnosed that I didn't want to go to the gym at all. Like I didn't want to see the people's face. I felt like everybody could tell that I had mental illness, and they could just look at me and tell. And I think going to group and being challenged and talking to other people who, were that it was difficult for them to take that first step and to getting their life back to where they wanted, and just being challenged, saying, oh, you should just go once and see how it is. And then I went once, and it was like, okay, it's kind of tough, but I can do this. And then challenging myself to go maybe twice the next week, and then after that maybe 3 times, and get to the point where like you feel normal and you can just go out and live your life the way that you want to live it. So it took some time. It was challenging, but I feel like day treatment helped me take the steps that I needed to take to get my life back to where I wanted in regards to exercising. The biggest skill I learned is opposite to emotion. It's pretty much when you're kind of stuck and you're kind of feeling down or depressed, to do the opposite of that. And typically after you do that, you feel a lot better. I can't think of how many days where I'm laying in my bed at 11 or 12 o'clock where I'm like, I don't want to do anything today. And like, that's the onset of depression. And I force myself to do something. I go work out or take a walk or whatnot, and I feel a lot better afterwards. Even though it's hard to start that up, that was probably the biggest skill I took from day treatment, was opposite to emotion. I think you just have to take baby steps. And I think a mistake that I made at first was I was trying to jump back into work right away when I was first diagnosed. Like, you have to take time for yourself to let yourself heal. And taking baby steps is the best thing, and wait until you're absolutely ready to make those next steps. Well, first of all, they're in a group of people that are in similar situations in regards to their mental illness. So they're all facing the same barriers, or similar barriers. So that's important. You be able to allowing you to bounce ideas and stuff off of other people and getting feedback and talking about what should you do in regards to your mental illness and disclosing it to an employer. Yeah, I can. I talked to my family about it, which I was kind of scared about, talk to my friends about, like identifying symptoms when I'm having symptoms or whatnot, and telling me to get help if needed. Before, when people told me to get help, I was like, what are you talking about? I was kind of delusional and really didn't believe I need help. But now I know that if someone tells me to get help, that it's something that's needed. And I've had those conversations with family members and some friends, and they were accepting of it. So I appreciate that. And that's a big thing also, is to build a big support system. That has been, I can't even speak on it really. It's helped out a lot, is having a support system from loved ones or people that are close to me. So that's tough, because when you're in that state, sometimes it gets like it's too late. But I think to be patient with them, and to be understanding that their reality is kind of warped a little bit. And you have to understand that nobody understands that better than my sister. She has, we've had discussions and we've talked about mental illness, and like, she gets it. So she understands. And I think the more you educate your family members and your friends, the better it is for them when they deal with you if you're having symptoms or whatnot. So I think it's just understanding and acceptance, and continuing to try to help, and don't give up on your loved one. Continue to try to advise them to get help. So I think it's important for people to give it a chance, and that was the biggest thing for me, is giving it a chance.